Hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. How's it going?
We're doing great over here, Dario. How are things in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, not too bad. Finally cooled down a little bit, getting a little bit of the cool breezy air coming in. It's been good. It's been good. It's been nice to get out of the desert heat. How
Outstanding.
about yourself?
Outstanding. Glad to hear it. Well, hey, appreciate everybody for tuning back in. If
Yeah,
anybody has been paying attention in the technology and just in the world in general, uh, things are very different now than they were 72 hours ago. So Dario and I wanted to talk about some of those things and appreciate everyone joining us to hopefully learn some stuff.
yeah, no, thanks for coming back. And this one will be a little different than just technology, but it has a huge effect here. So I guess we'll kind of just jump into the topic. We're going to talk about some shipping delays and some supply chain delays that are affecting us in our field. Yet again, kind of where hardware meets technology world. But how things are different. Yeah, I mean, is there anything that you wanted to add there, Zach, as we begin?
No, I think you pretty well summarized that. Some of what we're seeing is we all know that the supply chain is in complete disarray right now for myriads of reasons. Some of it being COVID, some of it being shutdowns, some of it being workforce problems. Uh, but the reality of the issue is that it drastically affects end users, businesses, just individuals. Obviously, we're coming up on the holidays. People
Sure.
are saying, "Hey, get your holiday shopping done now," which is not inaccurate. Um, we're just seeing a lot of things that are going through and want to make sure that everybody knows these things, number one, from a business and technology standpoint, but also understands and can hopefully prepare a little bit better. Um, we're seeing some folks who are, I need this right now. And you almost just kind of have to either hang your head or laugh, otherwise you'd cry. Um,
Right. I was gonna
it's just not
say,
happening.
let's paint a little picture here of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
So, essentially, part of our services for clients is replacing, getting new hardware for, changing out, whatever it may be. But we do offer a service where we can replace hardware, be it your laptop, things like if you wanted printers and other sources like that. So for some of our clients, it is a full encompassing product where they can get that service. And so what that kind of means is, hey, Zach, Dario, guys at K2, well, actually, in this case, it might be a Peter, an Ed, or an Eric, but
right.
but nonetheless, saying, hey, we have 3 employees coming on. Great, awesome. Well, we need fully functioning laptops with everything on it for them. Can we get that now? And well, Zach and Dario, while we're amazing, we don't make laptops in our back office. And so what that means is, like anybody else, we're a vendor. We have to work with a large manufacturer. And so it's taking, I don't know, Zach, what is some of the lead times that we're having to respond with? I mean, they're pretty astronomical numbers for ordering a laptop,
Um,
for example.
it really depends is the answer there. I can tell you, I've seen some vendors that have limited stock that we can have them in 2 days. But those are usually very basic laptops, with not a whole lot of computing power. They may have an
Sure.
older processor in it. Um, but then you get into the more niche products, and sometimes it's 2022 for estimated delivery dates.
Yeah, correct. Especially things that are being ordered on a commercial scale, right? Like, so for a lot of people listening, if you went to a Best Buy and bought a MacBook, unfortunately, this is not what we're referring to. We're talking a little bit more on the prosumer level. Hey, I have 50 employees. Turning out every other week. Every other week, we have hardware changing. Those type of situations, right? Where you may see a company ordering, I don't know, 10, 15 laptops a year. And they have, let's just argue for manufacturing purposes, have certain programs that they need to run that have to come pre-built from our team. So those type of things are what we're referring to. We're not talking about running over to Best Buy, although they are seeing shortages as well.
They are.
While yes, you're saying, hey, Dario, I was just in Costco or Walmart the other day. and I saw laptops. You're right that there are products available, but on a prosumer level, on the higher grade commercial side of where these are flowing in pallets type orders, right? As we start to talk about the shipping constraints here,
Yeah.
that's what you're seeing a lot of delays on, especially on some of the higher instruments, maybe something like a server, some firewalls, NAS, things like that people are ordering in a different type of demand than just running into Best Buy, right? So we just want to be clear on the difference of what we're talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah, and to kind of expound upon what Dario just said, where we start to see more of it is the higher end computers that need a GPU, which is a graphics card, for lack of a better description. So if you're using a computer for like AutoCAD or some sort of design software where you have to have that graphics processor in it, those things are darn near impossible to find right now. And if you do, they're probably 2 or 3 times the cost of what they were this time last year.
Sure.
I know that we've ordered one for one of our clients who, it's a design software. It's for product design. It's one of their engineers uses it. We ordered it. I looked just a few minutes ago on July 27th.
Still not here.
The estimated arrival date for this thing is November 12th.
That's a real life example, right?
Yeah, that is
Not that we
a real life
have-
example. That is, nothing can be done about it.
Sure.
It's got to have a graphics card in it. Otherwise it won't do what they need it to do. And it's now probably about 60% more expensive than what it was.
Well, and part of the problem is too, without going on just the graphics card, right? Because the cards, the chips, these are some of the components within the computer that is actually causing delay. It's not printing keys or making a screen.
Correct.
Although screens and monitors are delayed
Yes.
as well. We've seen that too.
Yes.
So that was maybe not the best joke to make, but nonetheless, that is not the hard component here. It is the chips. And without going on a whole nother path, but it does pertain to the logistics side of this and how a supply chain works. Not that I'm an expert by any means, but I did have about 5 years experience working in supply chain. So I know a little bit, have a little bit of backing here to some of this explanation. So, essentially when you're talking about the chip, it's the main component. I mean, we're seeing the same thing with Toyota cars. They're running into shortages. I think at one point they said they're not even going to be able to make certain cars in certain countries next year, just as a result of this shortage. So it does carry over outside of just the laptop example to a lot of products in general that do require any sort of computing power. I don't know offhand, this is just a rough estimate, but maybe 3 companies, Zach, actually make the chips. And I think there's really one big one, right, that make these chips.
Yeah, you're not far off. The biggest one actually resides in, was it Taiwan, I believe?
Taiwan, yeah.
And it's a semiconductor company, and it's
Correct.
really the power management units. When you hear people talk about chip shortage, when it comes to vehicles or anything, iPhones or, computers, whatever, sometimes even appliances now, since, our Facebook is linked to our refrigerator. It's that power management chip that's really causing issues right now. And that is literally the computer chip that tells things to turn on.
Yeah.
And without that, you just got a big boat anchor or doorstop or paperweight and, in a laptop if you don't have that. So that is what is kind of driving things right now. Those lead times on those chips, they used to be 3, 4, 5 weeks. You put your order in, you wait 3 weeks and you get your, 4 pallets worth of it. That's up to about 21 weeks now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, manufacturers just can't get these things in. And they are like a pecking order. So the electronics industry, the Apples, the Dells, the HPs, those type
Correct.
manufacturers, they go towards the top of the list. And they know these things are coming. So they've got their orders in and they're a little better prepared.
Sure.
But you're still seeing some absurdly long wait times for things now just because of that.
No, and it's all a trickle down effect, right? So if the chips are delayed, then we have to ship them. But we already talked about just basic shipping terms, right? Which is one component of the supply chain, just the transportation that's delayed. So they can't even find space for it. Now you have to get it to the factory to get made, which there's another delay. Then it has to get back on another type of transportation, both within that country, then to the water, to get overseas, which we've already talked about some delays just in shipping there, with the Evergreen example. So down the road, I mean, it's this domino effect that continues to trickle down and fall, that people are not necessarily aware of when they say, hey, I want this now. And that's a big component that we're going to have to see, because you can get things now. You can start to fly things. You can start to increase shipping. You can start to demand these things. But can you eat those costs? We already said somebody like a Dell, Apple of the world can do those things. And they have to meet their customer demands, because if you start to lose that very valuable market space, by not saying, hey, Mac's not available, Dell is, and just being very basic here, hey, that's a lot to say. So they are in some regards taking on cost for it. Now they may pass that along to the end user, but these are the things that you got to be cognizant of when you start talking about delays. I had a conversation with an old buddy of mine in the logistics field, working at a very large freight forwarder, and news on the front lines is that the price for containers is $20,000-$30,000, which is a lot of money for a container. So if you're not ready to knuckle up and pay money, you're just going to get shut out. If you even know how to even if you know how to order on a container level as a small business, right? It's very complex and very hard for a small business to say, sure, I'll just go direct to the manufacturer. They normally need a middleman, which adds another layer of complexity, adds another problem for delays. So as you can see, there's so many hands in the pot that it can really, really start to add up and affect a shipping shortage, right? Because that term is just so basic in the terms of supply chain. Absolutely. Right?
And to drill down a little bit on what you just said, I was looking through some of the statistics, and just the cost of shipping containers has doubled since July of this year.
Yeah.
To your point, they are about 21,000 per container. Again, that's doubled from July, and July was double from what it was in January of 2021.
Yeah, I mean, you used to be able to ship a container for under 10 grand.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 grand, maybe even that high. You could probably do some short-term shipping, or some delayed shipping, at their mercy for $3,500, $4,000. I'm sure you could buy a container for. But now they would laugh at you if you tried to ask for something like that. I mean, like I said, my buddy at the freight forwarder is having to turn clients away at the moment because they just can't accept it.
And to put that into a real world scenario, we just had this happen with one of our clients. We quoted them a setup for a new system that they had to put in place, and we did it on June 9th, I think, if memory serves. They kind of drug feet and came back and finally said on the 29th of September, hey, we need to go ahead and purchase that. And we had to requote it. And when we did, it was about $700 higher than what it was. And this was on a $2,500 piece of machinery. So, I mean, you're talking 25% cost increase right there.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing. That's real world. That's lines up with shipping container price increases. And guess where that gets passed on?
It's passed on, yeah.
So yeah, that thing is now about 25% more expensive. And that wait time went from about 4 to 6 weeks in June to where now we're looking December 18th for that thing to be delivered. So
yeah, and I want to
what is the business impact of that? If they're looking for it now, you've got to wait another 2.5 months.
Yeah, no, and these are the scary thoughts. I mean, as we wrap up here, listen, be ahead of time, be proactive, get things in before you have these conversations with whatever vendor you may be working with. If it's Christmas shopping or shipping things, just be proactive, right? And if you're hearing, hey, this is an issue, understand that there's more to the problem than just a shipping delay. But that's all I have to say. Stay safe. And Zach, I'll pass it to you to wrap up.
No, you're 100%. Again, guys, whether you're in the business or the personal world, now's the time to try to look into your crystal ball if you've got one. and try to predict your future as best